Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Scaling Brokerage Podcast. Today, Buzz has been kind enough to bless us with some of his time and share a little bit about his experience in real estate. So I'll let him dive right into it and tell us a little bit about himself and his business.
Well, mainly a family-owned firm that's been around. We've been around in Frederick since the late 1970s. We bought out the largest independent broker at the time, called Wolf, Matten and Sheehan, and we flipped the name to McIntosh in 1980. My dad moved us up here from Bethesda in the DC area. My grandfather first started in the business with Shannon and Lux in DC in 1910. Oh. And then my father got into the business with my grandfather. They were principals at Weaver Brothers, which was the sixth largest privately owned mortgage company in Washington, D.C. at the time. My dad ended up selling that firm to Bank One back in the 1980s. We moved up here. My older brothers, Rocky and Andy, started the firm probably in 1980. And then my younger brother and I, Jim, now run the firm here. My oldest brother moved on and started his own company. And then my brother Andy's recently retired from the business. So that's kind of the gist and start of us.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself personally. How was that transition being kind of a third generation, real estate agent broker? How was that transition from you going from, agent to broker there?
Yeah, I started in 1985 when I graduated from college, and my career has spanned. I became the broker about a year and a half ago. And my brother Jim and I kind of took over when my other brother has kind of retired from the business. And, over the years, I've kind of been president of the local board and been very active on the association level. So
that's wonderful. And I mean, in the past year and a half, have you ran into anything, any challenges, or maybe even prior, that you feel like maybe have slowed you down, or something that could have maybe made easier with the knowledge you have now?
I mean, the company has had it's been a roller coaster. We've had 4 offices. We've consolidated to 2 offices now. We're in Frederick and Hagerstown. And we've had as many as 200 agents. We're probably down to about 60 right now. As far as challenges go, I think everybody went through last year with the DOJ lawsuits and all the changes. Maryland was a little ahead of the game as far as buyer broker laws went, so it wasn't too much of a big change other than the compensation part of the lawsuit and all the new forms and ways of having to disclose and do all that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I know that can be tough, having to transition into new forms, agents having to explain things differently and, upon their closings. So it can definitely create for some new adjustments to be made in the real estate field. But I love it. We're able to, roll through it without much issue there. That's awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about, do you guys do any recruiting at the brokerage? Do you guys do anything to attract agents? Do you guys?
We have a lot of old time agents who've been with us for years and years. I mean, we have, we've got agents who were here before I was here. So one of our agents was actually the treasurer at NAR, Bill Armstrong. So we have a lot of knowledge within the doors. We're also a very diversified company. We have a commercial division, residential, farms and land, and new homes. We have a new homes agent who's been in the business for well over 40 years, and she's very well versed and does a lot of new homes transactions too. So within the doors, we have years and years of experience, and then my nephews are also licensed now, so we've got 4 generations in the business.
And that's awesome. That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, great. Do you guys have any plans of? I know you mentioned we're at 200 agents and 4 offices before. Do you guys have any plans of growing back to that point? now that the dust is kind of settled, amongst
I mean,
everything?
there's always the possibility of consolidation with somebody else. We bought the Century 21 agency up in Hagerstown years ago, back during that 2005, 2006 kind of boom that was going on at the time, and we bought an agency up there because we were doing so much business up in Washington County. So we have a good size office up in Hagerstown, and then our main office here in Frederick in the historic district.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Have you guys ever used any like any systems, anything like that to recruit that might be helpful for any of the listeners?
We've explored some, but mainly it's a lot of getting out and networking, and also being very active in local associations.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I've heard it plenty of times on here before. Our network is our network, or sorry, our our network is our net worth. So that definitely holds true, especially in real estate. Getting out there and making our best impression. Talking to folks where we can really goes a long way. Especially years and years of compounding it really builds up a big sphere for us there.
Yeah, we also have a very recognizable sign. Our sign was created into an apple, so it's an apple sign, and actually the letters on it are like a stop sign, so they reflect at night.
Oh, nice. Hey, draw some extra attention. I'm sure that slows people down a little bit, maybe.
Yeah,
not speeding through. Awesome. Well, to dive a little bit into the future vision, I know you mentioned the nephew's working at the company now. What's the goal? Let's say, I know 2030 sounds a bit like the future. Where do you see yourself? Do you hand the company? Geez, I can't talk. I apologize. Handing the company off to your nephews. Staying in the business yourself. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
My brother's couple of sons just joined the firm in the last 2 years, and they're young, so we've got the next generation coming along. So I mean, I'm probably not. I don't have a foot into retirement yet, but it's not too far away.
Understand. I mean, that's awesome that they're, a fourth generation, working in the brokerage, all working alongside that. That's really cool. That's really, I don't know how many people can say that they've, been able to do that, maintain and be successful, while doing so. So that's really awesome. That's a really cool story. Nice. And I mean, kind of go into advice for new brokerage owners a little bit. Do you have anything that, if someone was getting started today, as a brokerage owner, what advice would you give them?
The big thing is training.
Oh yeah.
I see too many of these cloud brokerages taking people on, and the agents really don't know what they're doing. And they're flying by the seat of their pants. So it's very important, because we review everything that comes in here, because agent's not going to get paid unless the file's complete. So it's basically dotting all the I's and crossing the T's, and making sure you're doing things the right way. Because if you don't do it the right way, your reputation's not going to be very good.
No, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more there. And I mean, do you have anything else to touch on too for new brokerage owners, like maybe getting their feet set in a new market? If maybe there's somewhere they haven't been able to build up a sphere of influence, anything like that. Have you ever dealt with something similar, or maybe helped an agent in a similar way?
Yeah, it's getting out there and networking. And as you said, the sphere of influence is the biggest thing. If you have that, you're going to be successful. And that's the big thing. I mean, in today's world, used to be an 80-20 world, but it's about a 90-10 world, where 90% of the agents don't do any business and 10% do. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's true in most cases. Having 10% of the agents doing 90% or sometimes 100% of the work. So how do you manage that? How do you get the agents that are maybe slowing down a little bit? How do you get them to pick the production back up? Do you have any tips or tricks you try to use?
It's mainly communication and staying in touch, having your meetings, your training sessions, and keeping them motivated.
Absolutely. And it's hard. We never know what an agent's going through, personally, maybe in business as well. Well, maybe we have a little bit better idea on that side.
And that's the other thing
it's
is,
easy to-
you know, a lot of people have gotten away from the bricks and mortar and gone to the cloud concept.
yeah.
And, you know, if the agent's not in the office, they're not learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe for some of the listeners out there too that don't understand the full concept of, you know, the cloud-based versus a brick and mortar brokerage. Do you have anything that you see on your side that's a real, you know, upside or downside to either end there?
Yeah, I mean, the cloud ones, it just seems, I was talking to an older agent that I know through the association, and he just went to one of those cloud brokerages, and I was talking to him about, you know, why didn't you come talk to me if you were going to make a move, because he left Remax. And he basically said, well, you know, I went over to this other brokerage, and it's basically you go in and you drop your paperwork, they have a conference room, and then you work from home. And he basically told me, he said, there's just no camaraderie at the brokerage where he is. And it's, you know, and again, as I said, if you're in the office, you're talking to people, you know what's going on, and you absorb. If you're off in the clouds, then you're not really picking any of that stuff up.
Absolutely. No, I'm saying I couldn't agree more. No, there's definitely, I mean, depending on the situation, you maybe some pros and cons of both sides. But no, something I think that most brokerage owners, you know, are on the same page about, you know, is that even, you know, having a franchisee independently operated is kind of a, you know, more their structure, you know, having those in-person events, you know, getting to see their team throughout the day. It really does help build the culture and keep them around for you as well. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, and Buzz, you strike me as a man that might have a couple quotes. Do you have anything that, you know, you like to maybe think of when times are going good, times are going bad, or any quotes you just, you know, like to use, throughout life?
I mean, the one quote that I always liked was, the Eric Hoffer quote that is, in times of change, it's the learner that will inherit the world, and the others will kind of just fade away.
I knew you'd have a good one. That's good. I like that. And especially couldn't it be more true. I know I haven't said that before, but couldn't be more true in real estate as well. You know, if we aren't able to adapt and grow, and, you know, when new things, when different settlements come out, you know, we aren't able to change and adapt to those. You know, we're going to be slowly dying if we're not. So that's a great point. I love it. And well, thank you so much for coming out today, Buzz. That was an awesome podcast. Let the people know a little bit if they're interested in you know, anything that we talked about, or maybe they're in your market and looking to get in touch. How can they find you?
We're here at McIntosh Realtors. Our local number is 301-662-0155. And our website is MacHomes, MACHOMES.com.
Love it. I love it. And hey guys, we'll have everything linked down below. So if you want to get in touch with them, you're in the area, maybe looking to move to or anything like that, you know, in between. I know Buzz would love to, you know, get in touch and definitely we'll take care of you from what we learned today here. So thank you very much for coming out. That was awesome. I appreciate you.
All right. Take care.